At nearly 2 in the morning, with rain tapping against the towering windows of the Sullivan estate, Lucy Evans thought she was alone. Bent over a tattered law textbook, her pen scratched desperate notes under the dim kitchen light. Her heart raced not from the case study she was reading, but from the deep, unmistakable voice that suddenly shattered the silence behind her. "What are you doing here at this hour?" She froze, the pencil dropped from her trembling fingers. Standing in the doorway, wearing a dark robe and tousled hair, was Andrew Sullivan, the master of the house. The man who barely knew she existed, or so she thought. In that heartbeat of terror, Lucy believed everything was over. 3 years of flawless work erased in a single forbidden moment. But what happened next was something she could never have predicted. Why didn't he fire her on the spot? Why instead did he step closer and pick up the fallen book? Sometimes the greatest stories begin not with a grand announcement, but with a single unexpected question in the dead of night. What secret did Andrew see that night, and how far would both of them have to fall before they could rise? Stay with us, because nothing about this story is what it seems. The clock in the Sullivan Mansion's kitchen showed almost 2 a.m. The rain outside tapped gently against the windows, weaving a hypnotic rhythm in the darkness. Inside, under the dim kitchen light, Lucy Evans was hunched over a pile of law textbooks, furiously scribbling notes. She was so lost in her studies she didn't hear the footsteps until a deep voice cut through the silence. "What are you doing here at this hour?" Lucy jolted, her pencil dropping from her fingers and rolling across the floor. She looked up and froze. Standing at the doorway, wearing a navy blue robe and with his hair messily tousled, was Andrew Sullivan himself, the master of the house. Her heart raced, fear tightened her chest. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Sullivan," Lucy stammered, hurriedly shutting her book. "Constitutional law fundamentals. I was just leaving." But Andrew didn't move. His piercing gaze stayed locked on her, and he stepped closer, folding his arms. "You didn't answer my question." Lucy swallowed hard. Was this the moment she would be fired? 3 years of spotless service thrown away for trying to chase an impossible dream? I'm studying, sir. After I finish my chores," she whispered, almost afraid to meet his eyes. "I promise it never affects my work." Andrew picked up one of her books, flipping through the dense pages. "Law?" he asked, his voice filled more with surprise than anger. "Yes, sir." Lucy nodded, clutching her papers nervously. "It's an online program. I've always wanted to be an attorney." A heavy silence filled the kitchen. Only the storm outside dared to speak. Andrew leaned against the counter, staring at her as if seeing her for the first time. "And why study in secret?" he asked, his voice softer. Lucy's gaze dropped. "Your mother, Mrs. Sullivan. She believes it's not my place. She thinks I should stick to cleaning." The corner of Andrew's mouth twitched, but not in amusement. He knew his mother's rigid views all too well. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. 2 years, Lucy confessed, her cheeks burning with shame. "I'm halfway through my degree." Andrew poured himself a glass of water, lost in thought. This young woman, the same one who polished the floors and served their dinners, had dreams, ambition, and resilience. He had never bothered to notice. "My father was a lawyer," he said quietly, almost to himself. "His law library is still intact upstairs. No one's touched it since he passed." Lucy blinked, unsure what to say. "If you want," Andrew continued, setting down his glass, "you can study there instead of crouching in the kitchen." Before she could respond, Andrew's phone rang sharply. Breaking the fragile moment, he answered, and his face immediately turned pale. "What? When I'm on my way." He hung up and turned to Lucy, his eyes clouded with panic. "My mother, Barbara, she had a stroke. She's in the hospital." Lucy's heart softened instantly. Despite everything, she felt genuine concern. "I'm sorry, sir. I hope she'll be okay. She'll need constant care when she comes back," Andrew muttered, already grabbing his keys. "Prepare the guest suite tomorrow. She's moving in." As he disappeared into the stormy night, Lucy stood alone, clutching her books, her mind racing. If Barbara Sullivan was to live permanently in the house, what would that mean for her sanctuary of midnight dreams? Could Lucy still cling to her ambitions under the unblinking gaze of the woman who believed she belonged only behind a mop and bucket? Or was this the beginning of a battle she couldn't possibly win? The following weeks blurred into exhausting days. On her rare day off, Lucy visited her family's cramped apartment in the struggling Eastwood district. Her mother Margaret stirred tamales over the tiny stove while listening intently. "She looks at me like I'm dirt," Mom Lucy confessed, her voice tight with frustration. "And now I have nowhere to study." Margaret, whose hands were worn from years of cleaning other people's homes, placed them firmly on Lucy's shoulders. "Your dreams are sacred, Lucy. Remember why you started." Lucy thought of her father, wrongly accused of a crime he hadn't committed, dying without ever clearing his name. "That's why I have to finish law school," Lucy whispered fiercely. "To fight for people like Dad, people who have no voice." Back at the Sullivan estate, preparations for Barbara's arrival turned the house upside down. Gleaming mahogany furniture, silk sheets, polished portraits. The house gleamed with wealth, a world Lucy could only glimpse from the margins. That night, as she sorted through dusty books in the forbidden library, a familiar voice startled her. "Lucy," Andrew said gently from the doorway, "you shouldn't have to give up your studies because of my mother." She stared at him, speechless. "The library's yours after hours," he said. "I'll even adjust your work schedule so you can study more in the afternoons." Was this real? After years of hiding and fear, someone was offering her a chance, not out of pity, but respect. "But your mother," she hesitated. "She'll have to adapt," Andrew said firmly. "Call me Andrew when we talk about your studies. You're not just staff anymore." For the first time in years, Lucy felt something ignite inside her hope. But as they shared a rare, genuine smile, a question lingered silently between them. Could hope survive under the crushing weight of expectations and prejudice? "I'm truly sorry to interrupt the story here and make you wait. Thank you so much for your patience. While you're waiting, let me ask you, what do you think will happen when Barbara returns to the mansion? Will she crush Lucy's dreams completely, or could something unexpected happen? Do you think Andrew's growing interest in Lucy is purely out of admiration for her courage, or is something deeper starting to bloom? Also, let me know where you're watching from. I would love to know. And if you enjoyed this part, please give it a heart and a like to support our storytelling journey." Spring crept over the Sullivan estate, but the air inside the mansion grew colder by the day. Barbara Sullivan had returned, and with her came a storm that no one seemed able to calm. Lucy Evans felt it with every step she took. Barbara watched her like a hawk from her wheelchair, her sharp blue eyes scrutinizing her every move, waiting for any slip-up. "That glass isn't clean enough," Barbara snapped one morning, pointing at an invisible speck. Lucy bit her tongue, swallowing her pride, and cleaned it again. Day after day, the tension mounted. Andrew Sullivan, despite his promises, was increasingly busy, pulled away by his mother's care needs and his company's demands. The nights in the library became rarer, lonelier. Was he losing interest, or was he quietly retreating to protect her? One evening, after a particularly brutal day filled with endless criticisms, Lucy slipped into the library, hoping for solitude. The soft pool of golden lamplight welcomed her. But she wasn't alone. "I was starting to think you wouldn't come," Andrew's voice said from the far corner. Lucy gasped, clutching her books tighter. I didn't want to intrude." "You're not intruding." He stood up, holding out 3 heavy tomes, constitutional law volumes she desperately needed. "Why are you helping me so much?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. Andrew hesitated, his face unreadable. "Because someone once helped my father when no one else believed in him." Then, almost too softly to hear, he added, "And because I believe in you." A warm, unspoken connection passed between them, fleeting, fragile. But just as the moment stretched into something deeper, a shrill voice pierced the air. "Andrew," Barbara called from the hallway. "Where are you?" The spell shattered. Andrew stiffened, setting the books down hurriedly. "I'll handle her," he muttered. "Stay here." Lucy sat frozen as he left, her heart pounding painfully. Would Barbara discover them? Would she ruin everything? Later that week, as Lucy hurried to the pharmacy to pick up Barbara's medications, she was ambushed on the street corner. "Lucy, my girl, you've gotten even prettier," drawled a voice she hadn't heard in over a year. Miguel Turner, her ex-boyfriend, and a nightmare she thought she'd escaped. He was leaning casually against a lamppost, his leather jacket soaked by the drizzle, but the glint in his eyes was sharp, dangerous. "What are you doing here, Miguel?" she asked, taking a step back. "Just checking on my girl," he said with a smirk. "Looks like you're doing pretty well cozy in a mansion. Bet you're cozy with the boss too, huh?" Lucy's stomach twisted. "Leave me alone. We're done." Miguel's grin twisted into something uglier. He grabbed her wrist. "You think you're better than me now? Sleeping your way to the top? Let go," she cried, struggling. At that exact moment, a black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Daniel Reed, Andrew's business partner. Miguel's grip loosened instantly. "You okay, ma'am?" Daniel asked, stepping between them. Miguel backed off, but not before leaning close and hissing into Lucy's ear. "This isn't over. You hear me? It's only just begun." Lucy's hands trembled the entire way back to the mansion. Was Miguel just bluffing, or did he have something far worse in mind? The following nights, the library became her only sanctuary again, but Andrew grew distant. Their conversations shortened. Their smiles faded. Something was breaking, and Lucy didn't know how to stop it. One rainy evening, while serving dinner, Lucy overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. Barbara, with a smug smile, was telling Andrew about a certain perfect woman she had in mind for him. Sophia Callahan, daughter of a wealthy art gallery owner, polished, flawless, and approved by the Sullivan elite. "I've invited her to dinner tomorrow," Barbara announced triumphantly. "It's time you found someone suitable." Lucy stood in the shadows, the tray trembling in her hands. Was she really so naive to think she ever stood a chance? Was this the beginning of the end? The next night, Sophia arrived, elegant, confident, and so stunning it hurt to look at her. Lucy served appetizers invisible among the laughter and clinking glasses, but when she caught Andrew's gaze from across the room, it wasn't laughter in his eyes, it was conflict, sadness. Longing. Did he feel trapped too, or had he already made his choice? As Lucy turned to leave the dining room, she didn't see Barbara's cold stare following her every step. What would happen if Barbara discovered the truth about Andrew's feelings? What would she be willing to do to crush Lucy for good? I'm truly sorry for pausing the story here and making you wait. Thank you for being so patient and understanding. While you're waiting, let me ask you, do you believe Miguel's threats are just empty words, or is he planning something truly dangerous against Lucy? If you were in Lucy's shoes, would you fight for your dream and love, or walk away before more damage is done? Also, where are you watching from today? I'd love to know. And if you're enjoying this emotional journey so far, please give a heart and a like to support this video. The night of the Sullivan Gala was supposed to be a celebration, the announcement of Andrew's latest architectural award. The estate glittered under chandeliers and golden lights. Important guests flooded in champagne. Glasses clinked, laughter echoed in every hallway. But beneath the glamour, tension brewed like a thunderstorm ready to break. Lucy Evans, dressed in her modest uniform, tried to stay invisible, balancing trays of hors d'oeuvres among billionaires and celebrities. Her heart raced with each accidental glimpse of Andrew Sullivan standing beside Sophia Callahan. His perfect match. Did he feel as trapped as she did, or had he already surrendered to his family's expectations? The answer came sooner than she expected, and not in the way she imagined. A loud commotion at the grand entrance silenced the entire room. Voices shouted, a scuffle broke out, heads turned, murmurs grew, Lucy's blood froze. There he was, Miguel Turner, disheveled, drunk, shouting her name. "Lucy Evans. Tell him who you really are. Tell him how you steal from your boss to buy your fancy books." Security guards wrestled with him, but Miguel fought back viciously. Andrew shoved through the stunned crowd toward the chaos, fury burning in his eyes. Lucy, frozen with shame, could barely breathe. Miguel pointed a shaking finger at her, his voice dripping with venom. "She's playing you, rich boy. She's nothing but a lying little maid trying to climb her way into your bed." A hush fell over the room, every eye locked on Lucy. In that instant, Lucy wished she could disappear, her world, her dreams, her dignity collapsing under the weight of Miguel's venom. Security finally dragged Miguel out into the cold night. But the damage was done. Barbara Sullivan, pale with rage and humiliation, stumbled backward. "Mom." Andrew cried, rushing to catch her as she collapsed against a marble column. "Call an ambulance," someone shouted. The room dissolved into chaos, guests murmuring, glasses toppling the brittle facade of perfection. Shattering, Lucy fled. She didn't wait to be fired. She didn't wait for Andrew to explain. She packed her few belongings into a single battered suitcase, left a handwritten resignation letter on the kitchen counter, and slipped quietly out into the rain-soaked night. Was it cowardice to leave without a fight or survival? Weeks passed like a fog. Lucy moved back to her mother's cramped apartment across town. She picked up part-time work at a law firm, continued studying through sheer force of will. But at night, lying awake, she couldn't help wondering, had she imagined everything between her and Andrew? Was it all a foolish dream? One morning at the university registrar's office, Lucy was filling out paperwork for her final semester when the clerk handed her a sealed envelope. "You've been awarded a full scholarship," the woman said with a smile. "Funded anonymously?" Lucy blinked, stunned. Inside was a letter from the Sullivan Foundation offering not only tuition, but living expenses. No strings attached. Before she could process it, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "I hope you'll accept it." Lucy turned to Andrew. Dressed simply, no bodyguards, no designer suit, just Andrew looking more real than she had ever seen him. "I had to find you," he said. "I had to make things right." "Torn between hope and fear," Lucy whispered. "Why now?" Andrew smiled bittersweet. "Because I realized I was building a future based on fear. Fear of my family, fear of society, fear of losing you." He handed her another envelope, this one offering something entirely different. A job offer. Director of a new foundation supporting working students inspired by her story. "You changed how I see the world, Lucy. Not because you needed saving, but because you showed me how brave real strength is." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. Was she ready to trust again? Was she ready to fight not just for her dreams, but for love? Months later, as she graduated top of her class, Andrew stood proudly in the audience. Beside him, shockingly, was Barbara Sullivan, frailer, softer clapping, with restrained but genuine pride. Maybe miracles didn't happen all at once. Maybe they were built quietly, one act of courage at a time, under the golden lights of the Sullivan estate, now transformed into a community center for educational programs. Andrew led Lucy to the old library where it had all begun. On the desk lay an old leather-bound law book. Inside it, a velvet box. Andrew knelt. "Lucy Evans, you weren't the one who needed saving. I was. You saved me. Will you marry me as my equal, my partner, and my forever?" Tears spilled down Lucy's cheeks as she whispered, "Yes." In that moment, it wasn't a fairy tale. It was something far more powerful. It was two flawed people choosing each other over fear, over doubt, over the invisible walls society tried to build. Because real love wasn't about saving someone, it was about setting each other free. I'm truly sorry for pausing the story here and making you wait again. Thank you for being so patient and understanding. While you're here, let me ask you, do you believe real love can truly overcome society's expectations and family pressure? If you were in Lucy's shoes, would you have trusted Andrew again after everything that happened? Also, what country are you watching from today? If you love this emotional journey, please comment. No 3 down below. If you felt it was just okay, comment no 2. If you think it could be improved, comment no 1. And don't forget to tap the heart and share this video to support more beautiful stories like this.